Well, Star Wars fans, we just got some new leaks and updates about the Rey movie. This includes some leaks about the plot of the movie, but it also includes reports on how Lucasfilm views this movie as far as where it fits in to the overall Star Wars canon. And so in this video, I want to break down all the new reports, give you the latest on what to expect for the Rey movie, but I also want to answer the question that's really on everybody's mind. Does any of this shit make me think the movie will actually be successful? And I also want to share an absolutely absurd rumor that I heard that actually could be true that will probably cause Star Wars fans to freak the fuck out. But we'll do that at the end of the video. First, let's talk about the actual report. Now, this comes from Daniel RPK, although I am breaking it down on an article over on the Diz Insider. The first part of the report suggests that filming will happen sometime this year for the Rey movie, and that the film will be shooting entirely in the UK. Now, there's a couple of reasons why this is important. I mean, first of all, there were rumors suggesting that this movie was going to be delayed indefinitely. I tried to bring some clarity to those reports when they were first coming out because they're not true. And according to Daniel and according to a lot of other people, Lucasfilm is building sets right now in Pinewood, and they're going to be shooting the Rey movie sometime this year over in the UK. Another reason why this is interesting is because The Mandalorian and Grogu, the movie that's supposed to come out before the Rey movie, is going to shoot in LA. And so this kind of shows Lucasfilm's strategy. They're going to have the Rey movie shooting in the UK on the Pinewood sets, and then you're going to have Mando and Grogu shooting in California. And that combined with rumors about the budget for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie make me think that movie is going to be somewhat smaller in scale. But essentially the first part of this report just lets us know that they will be filming the Rey movie soon. It's going to film exclusively in the UK. Now, the next part of this report focuses on casting. Apparently they are still casting for the Rey movie, which again gives you sort of a timetable. Like they seem to be finishing up the script, looking for roles for the film to be filled. And to me, that makes me think they won't be filming until the summer or maybe later this year. But the roles that they still need to cast that are very central to the movie are Rey's two apprentices and the villain. So that means a number of different things. I mean, number one, it suggests that Rey is passing on what she learned. She's got the books from Luke Skywalker. She went through all this stuff in episode 9. And so at some point in this film, wherever it takes place in the timeline, Rey will be coaching up some new Jedi, trying to pass on what she learned, and it seems she's going to have two apprentices. And by them casting a new villain for the movie, it suggests you're not going to get an old villain like Palpatine or Snoke or even Adam Driver's Ben Solo, Kylo Ren returning in this film, and instead you're going to have a new villain. Now, I've got a lot more to say about that aspect and the plot of this movie, and this includes a absolutely ridiculous fucking rumor that I heard. But first, let's finish up with this report because the other part of this is really interesting also. The last thing in the report talks about how this movie is not the beginning of a trilogy. This is not episode 10, and Lucasfilm is treating this as a standalone film. Now, in the report from Daniel, he does mention that if the movie's very successful, of course, they could maybe go on to do sequels with those characters. Maybe the apprentices would be in another movie, or even Rey and the apprentices in another movie. But Lucasfilm is treating this as just a standalone movie. It is not a trilogy. It is not the beginning of the trilogy. It's like the in-between of potential future trilogies and the trilogy that ended in episode 9. Now, I kind of take issue with this. I thought a lot of Star Wars fans would take issue with this as well. I did a poll on Twitter. Maybe, depending on when you're watching this video, that poll is still up, and I was kind of surprised to see how many people thought it was actually good that the Rey movie was not the beginning of a trilogy. But if you look at the comments of people voting on that poll, it seems that a lot of fans are saying it's good because they want to minimize the amount of Rey moving forward. They don't want a full trilogy of Rey, and a lot of people are sort of viewing this movie as something they have to put up with, not something that they're actually looking forward to. And so part of me wants to say, okay, maybe at least that's a W, like maybe that's a win for Lucasfilm to make this movie standalone. But if the reason the fans actually think it's a W is because they want as little of Rey as is possible, then I don't know if this is a W at all. But now let's talk about these apprentices and this villain, right? So they're casting for these roles right now. I have heard long-standing standing rumors that they want people of color for these roles. I'm sure you've heard the same rumors, and this, again, just makes it seem like Rey's going to be passing on what she learned to a new generation, to new people, and perhaps this is kind of a way to kind of move the story from Rey to other people, new Jedi orders and things of that nature. And I suppose that could be interesting, but it also makes me feel like they're not going to be trying to develop the Rey character, and go figure, Lucasfilm not actually trying to develop Daisy Ridley's Rey. But I'm kind of being serious. Like, the idea of Rey having this really weird arc that she has in the sequels, and then just becoming the passer on of knowledge, the teacher, the Jedi master, it just feels like we're missing a bunch of steps. I had thought that the whole idea of doing a Rey movie was to sort of improve the character as far as the fan base's reception, because fans don't really like the Rey character, and I think that's mostly a writing thing. The sequels didn't develop that character properly. And so it's totally different in the EU when Luke Skywalker, who had this incredible arc in the original trilogy, then goes on to become the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, reestablish the Jedi Order, have his own family. It's so much different and so much better because we already love Luke Skywalker. And so I'm confused as to how the plot of the film involving Rey passing on what she learned to apprentices is going to help develop that character and going to help fans like that character more. And now I have to share with you an absolutely ridiculous rumor that I'm hoping isn't true, but the awkward thing here is this current leak from Daniel kind of lines up with this old rumor. And the rumor would be that these two apprentices that Rey has are actually the children of Finn, maybe the children of her and Finn, and these two apprentices might be given the name Skywalker.
But why?
It kind of feels like the exact opposite of what you would want to do with a movie like this. A lot of fans already hate the fact that Rey took the Skywalker name. I'm one of those people. I think it's absolutely absurd. And the idea of Rey passing on the name Skywalker to other people that are not related to the Skywalkers in any actual way, I mean, frankly, it just feels like a furthering of all the mistakes that were made in the sequel trilogy, specifically made in Episode 9. It's like, on the one hand, the rumor seems so ridiculous that there's like no way they'd actually do it, but then you think about Lucasfilm, you think about their actual history and track record, and oh no, they might do it. And so look, here's the deal. I'm really trying to be fair here. I think some of you guys recognize that. I believe there is a way to make a movie with Rey that would actually get fans to like Rey more, maybe even like the sequels more, and just be more open to Star Wars stories in the future. Like, there's a version of the Rey movie that makes the majority of the fan base happy and actually like would be so good. Like, imagine the Rey movie is so damn incredible. Some of the best Star Wars you've ever seen. It gets back to the core of the themes, the elements, the binary nature of morality, all these interesting things. There's a version of this movie out there within the infinite possibilities of timelines and existence that is so damn good. It actually brings sequel haters to the theater and starts a whole discussion of like, why weren't the sequels more like this? Why weren't the sequels more like this? If they were more like this, I would have actually liked the character. Things like that. So there's a version that could be amazing for Star Wars overall and for the fan base. The problem is none of the updates, none of the information that's actually coming out about this movie are making it seem like that. I mean, I don't want to go through the whole laundry list again, but I mean, Charmin Obed-Chinoy is not qualified. She's also an activist, which isn't necessarily a problem if she puts in actual Star Wars morality into this movie and doesn't try to make it a platform for her activism. I mean, sure, there are political ideas within Star Wars, but at its core, it is a story about morality. It is a fantasy story about binary reality. You're either selfish and going down the path of oblivion, or you are selfless and you are going to the path of the light side. That is at the core of Star Wars. There's no mention of Adam Driver, no mention of Ben Solo, and I'm sorry, I just think that would be freaking awesome. Like, if you really want people to go check out a movie with Rey, I think you need Ben Solo. Bring him back to life. Do something crazy. Zero mention of that. And also the fact that it's not a part of a trilogy doesn't excite me at all. I would love an actual well thought out story. I would love for Disney to look at what they did with the sequels and say, you know what? The reason this failed is because we didn't actually have an idea of an arc for these characters. We didn't have a fully fleshed out story, and that's why it feels so goobly glob. And then they could go actually plan something out, make something impactful, important. If this movie is not important enough to Star Wars to warrant a trilogy, I don't know why it exists. I just think that this is some weak ass kind of in between thing where they're like, well, we want to make a Rey movie. And it's like, why? Why? Especially if it's not designed as a part of a wider and bigger story. So for me, all kinds of red flags for this movie. I will need to hear something, to have a leak of some kind that excites me, that gets me to think, oh, this could be really, really cool. But for now, guys, nothing like that is happening. I'm going to watch the movie. I want to try to give it a fair chance. I just think it's a disastrous idea that's made whimsically, and I see zero evidence that Lucasfilm is doing anything right when it comes to making this movie. I also want to mention my comic book Unity is on Kickstarter. Again, this is just for people that missed the first Kickstarter and want to check out the book. And we also have the first 45 pages of that book done. So if you back the Kickstarter and you purchase the full 5-chapter graphic novel, hit me up and I'll send you the first 45 pages. You can read it. And if you absolutely hate it, you can cancel your pledge. But I think you'll be like, damn, that shit's pretty cool, Josh. I can't wait to read the rest. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.